This is Tristan Rivers, and this is Symptom Tracker, an app that I created for interaction development at Open Window Term 2 2020. Symptom Tracker is an app that allows a user to log their symptoms for the day, and these symptoms directly correlate with coronavirus. As we land on this page, you can see the user is presented with a sliding carousel. This is just to capture the user's attention and to add a bit of visual interest, as well as market the site a little bit. I believe marketing is very key to creating a successful product. You can have a technically working product, but if it isn't marketed well or doesn't have good aesthetics, it's very little chance that the app can succeed. So the user landing page has a get started button. So this is the main call to action if the user wants to get started. Just 3 icons about what the app can do, the features of the app, an about section, and then in the footer, my name and a link to the GitHub where this app is located. This was coded in Microsoft.NET Core and provides a model view controller front end. So the first step for the user to do is to click Start Tracking, where they will be presented with a login screen. If the user does not log in, has not logged in before, they can go to the top right, a register button. So if I was to register myself, I'm going to call myself John Appleseed. Let's say my date of birth was, this is the built-in Chrome date picker. So let's say I was born on June the 2nd, 1996. My email would be johnappleseed@gmail.com. I'm just going to copy that for later use. The password and repeating the password. If I click create, then in-text validation is presented with the user. So the form has total validation of required fields. So if I go back and click John Appleseed, let me enter in the correct password, which requires an alphanumeric character. So the user is then registered. They would click Start Tracking, log in. They would use that email, the password, and log in. The user is then presented with this symptom dashboard page, which will show the user a history of their logged symptoms. Currently, the only thing that the user can see is the header, a button called Log Symptoms, and a calendar view. Calendar view right now doesn't do much because no symptoms have been logged. So once I click Log Symptoms, I'm presented with this form. On this form, there is a date field, which is the date that the user's symptoms were logged. By default, it's set to today, and that is using jQuery. After that, we have an how are you feeling input. So this is a completely custom input that I've coded in jQuery, and I've used CSS to style it out. It has a state indicator, which is just a visual way to represent how the user is feeling. And below that is the textual way. So it is translated from visual using color and position into text. The user is then presented with a question: are you experiencing any of the following? These symptoms are severe symptoms, where if a user is experiencing any of these, then they require immediate medical attention. That's why they grouped up, so that if they do pop up as having any of these symptoms, they can get the help that they need as soon as possible. So I am not. Are you experiencing any of these symptoms? So the user is presented with a list of different symptoms of coronavirus: sore throat, new or worsening cough, fever or chills, vomiting, diarrhea. If I do not have any of the above, I can click none of the above, and it deselects the rest. All of these were created using CSS as well as JavaScript and jQuery to control the functionality. So this is completely custom styling with Bootstrap used for the layout. The user can then type in any notes. that they may have about that particular day, and they will click create. The user then sees on their dashboard page that there is a card view, and the calendar view now has an entry that says OK. This text OK is the representation of that user's well-being, and another visual representation of the well-being is the border of this card. If I were to create another symptom where I'm feeling uneasy with no symptoms, you can see that the border is then red. There's also a visual representation of how many symptoms the user has. So this is a count of the symptoms, and the body text of the card is the notes that the user would have put in. The user is then able to edit the symptoms for that day, so they are presented with all the information, and the only thing that they can edit is the note itself. The user can delete them, so it'll present you that view of the symptom summary and just a confirmation delete button. So it does not simply delete. If the user were to click details, then they would be presented with all of the details in a nice tabular format. The symptoms experienced and the serious symptoms data has been created using CS/HTML, which is a merge of C# as well as HTML. This then allows me to translate a Boolean operand, for example, into a textual representation. So if I was to simply output the database content, it would show me a little checkbox. It would be checked if it was yes and unchecked if it was no. I have done some code in the back end that then presents the user with a text-based output. The same situation for other symptoms experienced. This is being saved into the database as a Boolean, as a string of Booleans. So it's 0, it's 8 zeros, and for each 0 that gets converted into a 1, that's representative of a symptom being experienced. The final 0, if that is switched to 1, then it is no symptoms experienced. So this is all translated on the back end through to the front end using CS/HTML. The user is also able to interact with these calendar symptoms. If I was to log a symptom for Monday, no fever or chills, that would show you on Monday on the calendar. You can click on that and it'll take you to the detail view. I can then log out if the user wants to switch computers or another user wants to use the system, they can. That was Symptom Tracker by Tristan Rivers. This was a successful term for me. The visuals are really key and the functionality is all working in accordance with the brief. Thank you very much.